Welcome to the Stoic Responder Podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Healy. As a special agent who spent more than 15 years conducting large-scale fraud, money laundering, and public corruption investigations, Stoic philosophy provided a mindset edge that became the foundation of my professional success. My mission today is to share those same ancient mindset lessons with you so that you can turn obstacles into opportunities and adversity into advantage. Time to muster up. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoic Responder Podcast. This is episode 53, I believe. Holy smokes, we're at episode 53 already. I cannot believe that we have, I started out this week kind of like celebrating the fact that we had gotten 50 episodes in until I remembered that the reality is I'd recorded about 230 episodes prior to this of a, of a podcast with a similar theme but a different name. So it kind of feels a little bit silly to be celebrating arbitrary numbers, but still, the fact that we're over 50 episodes deep, it's still impressive to me because I read somewhere that most podcasts don't make it more than 3 episodes. So, we're going to keep grinding, we're going to keep going because we know that this podcast is helping people. Speaking of helping people, before we get into the meat of it, I wanted to tell you about my favorite 501c3 organization, the Overwatch Collective. The Overwatch Collective is a nonprofit and podcast funding therapy sessions and supporting mental health initiatives for our first responders, our veterans, and their families. The motto over there is one more is one less. And I take that to heart because one more individual that we can provide services to is one less statistic. You can check them out at the overwatchcollective.com. Once you're over there, you can make a donation. You can buy some of their awesome t-shirts, hats, gear, drinkware. All of it goes to support this great cause of providing therapy sessions and supporting mental health initiatives for our first responders. And finally, they have their annual fundraiser coming up on August 24th in San Mateo, California. Greg and his people are doing great things over there at the Overwatch Collective. So if you happen to be in Northern California this weekend, if you happen to be in the Bay Area and you want to go and support a great cause, I believe they've got items for auction. They're going to have speakers there. There's dinner, all that stuff. If I was in Northern California, I would be going over to their annual fundraiser on August 24th in San Mateo, California. You can learn more details about that over at the overwatchcollective.com. As I said, guys, the title of this episode, or maybe I didn't say, but this is episode 53, and the title is Adapt and Overcome. Let me start you out with a tip, or with a quote rather, from Winston Churchill. Now, Winston Churchill is not one of the ancient Stoics, but in many ways, during World War II, he served as an example of Victorian era British Stoicism. Now, he was a product of those times. He was born the late Victorian era, and so a lot of the Stoic attitude that British political leaders had during World War II, a lot of that attitude is attributable to that Victorian era Stoicism that's so well exemplified in poems like If by Rudyard Kipling or Invictus by William Ernst Henley. So Winston Churchill is sort of a product of that same era, and his attitude, that whole keep calm and carry on, stiff upper lip attitude during the Blitz during World War II is often associated with Winston Churchill. So I'm going to start you out with one of his quotes today. Winston Churchill says, "To improve is to change. To be perfect is to have changed often." Now, as I said, the title of this episode is Adapt and Overcome, and let's dig into it. So improvement, as Churchill is talking about here, demands the courage to embrace transformation, right? We don't improve if we're unwilling to change. So we have to shed old habits. We have to reevaluate strategies. We have to confront the unknown. That is the recognition that perfection is not a static state. It's a fluid evolution that transcends our complacency. It's a fluid evolution that is a moving target. We don't ever truly achieve perfection, but we don't even approach achieving perfection if we're unwilling to change, because all growth happens through a process of change, right? Anything. You plant a seed, it changes as it grows over time, as it turns into a plant, as it eventually bears fruit of its own. A butterfly changes from, a caterpillar and was it the chrysalis, the cocoon, it changes into a butterfly, right? Things change and grow. You change from a child to an adult. You grow over time. That sometimes takes pain. It takes shedding old habits. It takes reevaluating strategies. It takes confronting the unknown of growing, of aging, of going to that next grade level. School started this last week. You've got kids who are walking into a new grade level, a new teacher, a new classroom. All of that is uncomfortable, but it is key to change. And that is what Winston Churchill is saying here. To improve is to change. We must be constantly, forever changing. To be perfect is to have changed often. So instead of envisioning perspective, again, as this unattainable idea, we should consider it a continuous journey. It's an expression of our willingness to adapt, our willingness to learn, our willingness to evolve. Often, we don't stop evolving just because we got out of the academy, right? We're constantly seeking new skills, new ways to evolve, new ways to change, new ways to grow, new ways to become better at the fundamental duties of our job. We should take that same attitude to our lives. So to embody this Churchillian wisdom, we have to cultivate a mindset that thrives on change. We have to recognize mistakes not as things that stop us, but as stepping stones to greater success. We have to confront the status quo. And most importantly, most importantly, we have to develop resilience in the face of adversity. We have to make self-improvement a lifelong quest, not a fleeting endeavor. It's not something we do for a week. We don't count our macros for a week. We don't start working out for a week and expect lifelong change. Self-improvement has to be in and of itself a lifelong quest. It can't just be a fleeting endeavor if we intend to continue to adapt and grow. That requires resilience. We have to stay resilient, but we also have to stay malleable and adaptable and embrace change. That is how you overcome. See, we talked about the Marine Corps yesterday. The Marine Corps has this, this idea of adapt and overcome. We talked a little bit about their leadership principles yesterday, but the title of this episode also leans into that idea of adapting and overcoming, right? The idea is things aren't ever going to be perfect. We just have to strive to make our current circumstances more perfect. And we do that again by not getting comfortable with the status quo, by developing resilience in the face of adversity, by seeking adversity to make us seek out self-improvement. It's not a fleeting endeavor. It's a lifelong event. Stay resilient, stay adaptable, embrace change. That is how you overcome adversity. All right, folks. Here's a journal prompt I want to leave you with. I want you to take out your Big Chief notebook, take out your pen, take out your paper, write this down. Where in my life is there opportunity to overcome an obstacle? I want you to think about something that you're dealing with right now, and I want you to see it rather than an obstacle, rather than something that's going to stop you, but as a stepping stone. I want you to ask, and again, maybe you didn't get the job you just put in for. Maybe you just got broken up with. Maybe something just happened in your life that you are having a hard time getting around. I want you to take out your pen and paper. I want you to think about that obstacle, and I want you to write down all the ways that this could truly be an opportunity. Now, we talked a little bit about this earlier in the week. We talked about flipping the script. This is a very similar concept right here. It's seeing opportunity to change, to adapt, to grow in the things that stand in your way. The opportunity to shed old habits, the opportunity to reevaluate strategies, the opportunity to confront the unknown comes oftentimes from the obstacles that get dropped in our path. So write that down. Where is there opportunity in an obstacle in your life to get closer to perfection, as Winston Churchill advises us? So, folks, if you're enjoying this podcast, there's a couple of different ways that you can help us and support it. Number one, pick up a copy of my book, In Valor, 365 Stoic Meditations for First Responders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you get your books. It's available on Kindle and Nook if you like digital downloads. I personally prefer the paperback, but you can get it that way as well. The paperback can come to you in like 2 days on Amazon Prime, so order it right now. Get off this podcast. Go to my, you can find the link in the show notes, or you can go to my profile on social media, or you can go to christopherhealy.com. The links are all over the place. Just look up In Valor, 365 Stoic Meditations for First Responders. Get yourself a copy of it. It's a great resource for law enforcement, for first responders, or anyone who is operating in a fast, uncertain, and rapidly evolving environment. It's going to give you some tips, some tools, some tactics to allow you to practice this philosophy daily. It's going to give you quotes, contextualization that are directly relatable to your job. And it's going to give you daily journal prompts and action items to help you integrate those lessons. Number two, if you want more of this content, you can subscribe to the Stoic Responder for free at thestoicresponder.substack.com. If you do that, you're going to get 4 episodes a week delivered directly to your email, and you're also going to get my weekly newsletter. Sometimes they come out multiple times a week. Generally, they come out on Mondays, and that newsletter is going to have a little bit long form Stoic leadership tips, tools, and tactics. I typically share that newsletter again on Mondays, but sometimes more than once per week. And you're only going to get that by subscribing at the Stoic Responder on Substack. And finally, the absolute best way to grow this podcast is for you to like, share, and subscribe so that others can find it and learn about what we are doing here. If you're getting something out of it, I hope you will think about sharing it with somebody, giving us a 5-star review, letting somebody know that we're out here so that we can continue to change and impact lives. Folks, thanks so much for tuning in to 53 episodes of the Stoic Responder podcast. Until next week, you are out of roll. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, rate, and share this podcast so that we can spread the benefits of Stoicism to other first responders. It will only take you a few moments, but it can help us tremendously. Until next time, out of roll.